More than half of the Earth's surface is covered by water. Its fathomless depths uncharted, unexplored.
Hello, and welcome to another bad movie review. This time we're looking at Varan, the Unbelievable. This is a 1962 movie, runs about 70 minutes. We start off with the man and his wife being sent from Tokyo to this island. And the man is Commander James Bradley, played by Myron Healey. Well, the island is something I really can't pronounce, and I think they even pronounce it differently a couple times in the movie. But it's something like Showa or something like that. At any rate, it's an island, and there's only a couple of big towns, and the rest are little fishing villages. Well, Commander Bradley is on the island with his wife to study desalination techniques. They have some chemical compound they want to test, and there's a lake here that's the perfect depth and size for the experiment. He does get attacked by a native man, but that is quickly forgotten and never referenced again. He doesn't even tell his wife. And a lot of this movie is done through narration, which is really annoying, some of which is done by narrating to his wife who transcribes it. Other times it's just kind of random, and sometimes he's even writing the journal entries himself. Now you would think that'd play a part in here, but it doesn't. Well, the locals worship a giant reptile known as Obaki that lives in the lake, and Obaki just means giant reptile apparently. It's like a precursor to kaiju. Well, the villagers don't want to leave because they are really annoyed with the whole thing and they don't want to leave their sacred area, but the Japanese government sends in heavily armed military men, including ones with rocket launchers for some reason. Now you will see some vehicles that have like missile launchers on them. Just ignore that. Kind of go with it. Assume they sent those for some reason to this tiny little fishing village of like 300 people for reasons. I could understand the shoulder mounted rockets maybe, but the vehicles make no sense. Why are there tanks and these rocket launchers? It doesn't matter. Just go with it. The movie's like an hour and 10 minutes. So James's Japanese wife, Anna, doesn't want them to do the experiment on the lake. She's kind of upset that there's bad press going around and they're giving her husband a bad name, and the locals are really upset. Two of her friends from college who are reporters show up, but they don't really play a part in here at all. I think they're in like one scene. So why that's even referenced, I don't know, but anyway, they end up letting the locals stay under military watch while the tests are carried out, and they use mortars to launch these chemical canisters into the water, and that ends up killing a bunch of fish and awakening the monster. It's almost 30 minutes before the monster shows up, and I pretty much succinctly described the entire 30 minutes. It was just a lot of talking and milling around, doing more talking. But don't feel like that's going away anytime soon. That's going to keep going through the rest of the movie too. The heavy use of narration is incredibly irritating. Now, of course, this movie is very much like Godzilla in that the American version of this is completely different than the Japanese version. The Japanese version is much more of a standard big monster movie. This one is very heavy on the humans and very little stock footage from the monster movie. It's about 10 to 15 minutes of actual monster movie footage. And it's primarily the military stuff where they're moving people around, the villagers running around aimlessly, and the monster walking about being a monster. The film quality between the two versions is incredibly noticeable too. It looks like the monster movie was filmed in, I think, 58, and this one probably was filmed significantly later. There was supposed to be a joint film, but that kind of fell apart, so they just used some footage from the Japanese version, and it is really noticeable that they used higher quality film, probably newer stock, on the American version. So there's a lot more graininess and writing and various other notable things on the footage of the Japanese version. What really bothered me about the whole thing is I don't think they once called him Varan. So where that name even came from, it wasn't this movie. They call him Obaku or Obuki, whatever the local native name for giant reptile is. They call him that once or twice, and that's it. That's the only name they give the giant monster. The resolution is a bit goofy as well. It involves some MacGuffins, and overall, it's not the worst film I've ever seen, but it's far from the best. best. Mostly it was just boring, and that's largely because of the narration. It just doesn't really drive anything forward. There's way too much of the humans in here. When you go see a giant monster movie, you want to see the giant monster rolling around, breaking stuff, tearing buildings up, stepping on little models and things. You don't want to see a bunch of humans going around like, look at that, oh my gosh, doing lazy reactions. Or worse, standing around dictating to their wife what they're gonna do later down the line with these chemicals. It's not exciting. It was really boring, and I almost fell asleep in the first 30 minutes. This movie was a struggle. So if you're gonna watch this, watch the original Varan. It's going to be significantly more entertaining than this 1 hour and 10 minute fiasco. The acting's not too bad. There's some pretty decent actors in it, but unfortunately, most of the cool parts are few and far between, and they're near the end of the film. So I can't really recommend this one. I only counted 3 on-screen deaths, well, mostly on-screen deaths for the 60s, and probably a litany of others died too, so it's kind of hard with kaiju movies to tell how many people die, so I can't really use that as a metric. But there's no nudity, there's nothing particularly unsafe about this movie. It's pretty tame, even for an unrated film, but I was just really disappointed with this one. It is just far more boring than even the American version of Godzilla. I can't believe this made any money at the box office. Despite the attempts to try and make it an interesting movie by the actors, they just didn't have anything to work with here. This script is just awful. So I'd avoid this one. If you're doing a monster movie marathon and you need a bathroom break and everybody wants to go get food or something for an hour, you could throw this on. But beyond that, there's a reason this one is a forgotten film, and it's unfortunately a very bad reason. The monster looks really cool too, so it's a real shame. They wasted this cool monster on such a sad effort. But again, I feel bad for the actors on this one because they were doing their best and they are all solid actors. It's just a terrible film. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.